Ever wondered what it truly means to understand someone? Join us as we dive deep into Percival Everett's profound novel James, where the complexities of human relationships take center stage. Welcome back to Brilliant Books. Today, we're diving into James, a novel that is as much about what is unsaid as what is spoken. Percival Everett, an author celebrated for his keen insights into human nature and society, delivers a story that quietly unravels the layers of its central character, James, to explore themes of identity, isolation, and the longing for connection. James is a novel that doesn't shout but whispers, pulling you into its depths with each page. In this video, we'll take a journey through the story, explore its key themes, and discuss how Everett masterfully crafts a narrative that lingers with you long after you've finished reading. If you're intrigued by stories that make you think and feel, you're in the right place. James is set in a small, unnamed town that could be anywhere, and that's precisely the point. This town, with its modest streets, familiar faces, and the rhythm of everyday life, serves as a microcosm of the world, a stage on which the intimate dramas of human life play out. At the heart of this town is James, a man who owns and runs a small hardware store. From the outside, James appears to be an unremarkable figure. He's the kind of person you might pass by without a second thought. But as we step into his world, guided by Everett's meticulous prose, we begin to see that there is much more to James than meets the eye. James is in his early 50s, a man who has lived enough to have a past, but is still in the midst of his life's journey. His daily routine is simple, almost mechanical. He opens his store, attends to his customers, and closes up shop at the end of the day. It's a life of repetition, of small tasks that keep him occupied, but never fully engaged. Yet, as Everett gradually reveals, this simplicity is a mask, a way for James to navigate a world that feels increasingly distant and incomprehensible to him. The town itself is a character in the novel. Its quiet streets, the chatter of neighbors, and the changing seasons all serve as a backdrop to James' internal world. It's a place where everyone knows each other, or at least they think they do. But this surface-level familiarity hides a deeper truth. That true understanding is rare, and even in a small town, people can be profoundly alone. This setting allows Everett to explore the paradox of isolation in the midst of community, a theme that resonates throughout the novel. James is a man defined as much by what he does not say as by what he does. He is a man of few words, often keeping his thoughts to himself, preferring the company of his own mind to that of others. This reserved nature might make him seem distant or even aloof, but as the novel progresses, it becomes clear that James' silence is a defense mechanism, a way to protect himself from the disappointments and pains of life. Everett uses this silence to great effect, creating a character who is deeply introspective and often lost in thought. Through James, Everett explores the idea that silence can be as revealing as speech. The moments when James is alone, reflecting on his life, are some of the most powerful in the novel. These moments allow us to see the world through his eyes, to understand the depth of his loneliness, and to empathize with his struggles. James is not a man who easily expresses his emotions, and this has had a profound impact on his relationships. His marriage, which ended years ago, is a source of pain and regret. He often thinks about his ex-wife, wondering if things could have been different if he had been more open, more communicative. But these thoughts are tinged with the sense of inevitability. James knows that he is who he is, and that change is difficult, if not impossible. The complexity of James' character lies in his contradictions. He is a man who longs for connection, but is afraid of it at the same time. He desires to be understood, yet he often pushes people away. These contradictions make him a deeply human character, one who is both relatable and frustrating. Everett captures these nuances with a deft hand, making James one of the most compelling characters in contemporary literature. Isolation is a theme that runs like a thread through the fabric of James. From the opening pages, it is clear that James is a man who feels deeply alone, even when surrounded by others. The sense of isolation is not just physical, it is emotional and psychological, a result of years of unresolved issues and unspoken words. Everett explores how isolation can be both a choice and a consequence. James has chosen to live a solitary life. To some extent, he prefers the quiet of his home, the predictability of his routine, and the simplicity of his interactions. But this isolation is also a consequence of his inability to connect with others on a deeper level. His relationships, both past and present, are marked by a lack of communication, a failure to bridge the gap between his inner world and the external one. The theme of connection, or the lack thereof, is central to the novel. James is constantly seeking a connection, yet he is also wary of it. He longs for a sense of belonging, for someone who understands him, but he is afraid of the vulnerability that comes with such understanding. This tension between the desire for connection and the fear of it creates a sense of unease that permeates the novel. Everett uses the small town setting to amplify these themes. In a place where everyone seems to know everyone else, James' isolation is even more pronounced. The contrast between the town's close-knit community and James' sense of alienation highlights the paradox of human relationships. We can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. This theme is particularly resonant in today's world, where social media and constant connectivity often mask a deeper sense of isolation. James' relationships are a key part of the novel, and they are portrayed with the depth and realism that is both compelling and heartbreaking. Throughout the book, we see how James' inability to communicate has affected his relationships, leading to estrangement, misunderstandings, and regret. His marriage, which ended years ago, is perhaps the most significant relationship in the novel. Through flashbacks and James' reflections, we learn that his marriage fell apart not because of any major incident, but because of a series of small, unspoken issues that accumulated over time. James' ex-wife is a character who exists largely in James' memories, yet she is vividly drawn. She represents the life that James could have had, the person he could have been, if only he had been able to express himself more openly. Regret is a constant presence in James' life. He regrets the things he did not say, the actions he did not take, the relationships he let slip away. But these regrets are not just about his past, they also shape his present. James is acutely aware of how his past choices have led him to where he is now, and this awareness adds to his sense of isolation and melancholy. Everett portrays these relationships with a nuanced understanding of human nature. There are no villains in James, only flawed, complex characters who are doing the best they can with the tools they have. This realistic portrayal of relationships makes the novel deeply relatable, as we can all see parts of ourselves in James and the people around him. As James progresses, it becomes clear that the novel is not just about the past, but also about the possibility of change. James is a man who has spent much of his life avoiding introspection, preferring to focus on the practicalities of his day-to-day existence. But as the story unfolds, we see James beginning to confront his past, and, in doing so, embarking on a journey of self-understanding. This journey is not a straightforward one. There are no dramatic turning points, no sudden epiphanies. Instead, it is a gradual process, marked by small moments of realization and self-reflection. James begins to see how his past has shaped his present, how his relationships have influenced his sense of self, and how his fears have held him back. Everett portrays this journey with a subtlety that is both realistic and profound. James' self-understanding is not about achieving a perfect resolution, but about coming to terms with who he is. He begins to recognize his own flaws and limitations, but also his strengths and the possibilities for growth. This journey is a deeply human one, reflecting the complexities and challenges of real-life self-discovery. As James begins to understand himself better, he also starts to see the world around him in a new light. His interactions with others become more meaningful, as he starts to let go of some of his defenses and opens up to the possibility of connection. This shift is subtle, but it marks a significant change in James' character, suggesting that even in the midst of isolation, there is always the possibility of connection and understanding. The climax of James is not a dramatic confrontation or a life-changing event. Instead, it is a quiet, introspective moment where James is forced to confront the reality of his life. This moment of truth is deeply personal, a moment where James must decide whether to continue living as he has or to make a change. This moment is brought about by a series of events that force James to reflect on his life. It could be a conversation with an old friend, a chance encounter with a stranger, or simply a quiet evening alone with his thoughts. Whatever the catalyst, this moment is a turning point for James, a moment where he must face the truth about himself and his life. Everett handles this climax with the same subtlety that characterizes the rest of the novel. There is no grand revelation, no easy answers. Instead, James is left with a sense of uncertainty, a recognition that change is possible, but not guaranteed. This moment of truth is powerful precisely because it is so realistic. It reflects the complexities and ambiguities of real life, where answers are rarely clear-cut. This climax is also a moment of deep emotional resonance. James is a character who has spent much of his life avoiding his feelings, but in this moment, he is forced to confront them. The result is a powerful, poignant scene that captures the essence of the novel, a story about the challenges of self-understanding and the complexities of human relationships. In the end, James is a novel that leaves us with more questions than answers. Everett does not tie up all the loose ends, nor does he offer a neat resolution to James' journey. Instead, he leaves us with a sense of quiet contemplation, a recognition that life is complex, and that understanding whether of ourselves or others is an ongoing process. The novel's ending is both hopeful and melancholic. James has made progress in his journey of self-understanding, but there is still a long way to go. He is still a man with regrets, with unresolved issues, and with the deep sense of isolation. But there is also a sense of possibility, a recognition that change is possible even if it is difficult. Everett's ending is a fitting conclusion to a novel that is more about the journey than the destination. It reflects the complexities of real life, where there are no easy answers, and where the search for meaning and connection is ongoing. It is a testament to Everett's skill as a writer that he is able to capture these complexities with such nuance and depth. In the final pages, we are left with the image of James, a man who is still searching, still trying to understand himself and his place in the world. It is an image that lingers in the mind, a reminder of the novel's central themes of isolation, connection, and the challenges of self-understanding. James is a novel that stays with you, making you think about your own life, your own relationships, and your own journey of self-discovery. James by Percival Everett is a novel that invites us to look deeper, to question our assumptions, and to see the world through new eyes. It's a story that stays with you long after you've turned the last page, making you think about the people in your life and the connections you've made or failed to make. It's a powerful reminder of the complexities of human nature and the challenges of truly understanding ourselves and others. If you found this summary insightful, I highly recommend reading the full novel to experience Everett's masterful storytelling in its entirety. James is a book that rewards careful reading, offering new insights with each read. Thank you for joining me on this journey through James. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Brilliant Books, and share it with others who appreciate thought-provoking literature. Stay tuned for more book summaries, reviews, and insights that will keep you engaged and thinking long after the video ends. Until next time, keep reading, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes the most ordinary lives hold the most extraordinary stories.